In the middle of all of the Exodus and the final stages of Exodus, we are bombarded with many, many details. As we prepare for reading about the Exodus and reading the final plagues of Arbe, Choshech, and Bechorod, God showers Moses with commandments and details and laws that make Jews so famous for our observance of mitzvot. Why is it that in the midst of the story of the locust and the darkness and finally the plague of the firstborn and Exodus, why is Moshe bombarded intermittently with so many commandments? God tells him, first of all, go out, look at the moon, sanctify the new month, create your own Jewish calendar. Then, when God speaks of the plagues of the plague of the firstborn, God says you should rid your house of chametz. You should make sure you eat the korban pesach. Don't eat it outside your house. Make sure it's roasted. Make sure you don't leave any until the morning. Don't break any of the bones. Why are the Jewish people barraged with all these commandments, even as we prepare for the dramatic scenes of the Exodus? Bothered by this question, the great rabbi I am about to quote to you, unfortunately, is anonymous, but he wrote a very famous book called the Sefer HaChinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch in Barcelona writes that the reason the Jews receive all these commandments now is because there's a principle of ha'adam nif'al kefi pe'ulotav. Taking certain actions shape who you are as a human being. The biggest difference between psychology in the 20th century and the 21st century is that in the 20th century, we thought that people's psychology was fixed. You had to analyze them and act accordingly. In the 21st century, we know that psychology is really about taking actions that can change behaviors and help you. So he says, if you take certain actions, they will shape you. So for example, you should not break any bones in the Korban Pesach, because breaking bones and really eating till the inside of the bone in a very, very hungry way is not something that a dignified person would do. It's usually something that someone who's suffering poverty and is in a difficult situation would do, and not someone who's being liberated and freed. So God tells the Jews, even though you haven't left Egypt yet, eat the Korban Pesach like royalty rather than like slaves. And so the commandments are given to us with great detail, not as a quirk, but rather as part of the story. The story is that in order to shape who we are as Jews, in order to distinguish ourselves as a nation, mitzvot and actions is the path we believe in. Taking action is what really changes who we are as human beings, and that's what the field of psychology discovered in the late 20th and in the 21st century. There's a famous joke about a man who is walking with his wife in the forest in Ukraine, and Cossacks come and they take him and his wife. They tie him to the tree, and they tell them, "We're about to kill you." And he starts screaming at them. He says, "You can't kill me now. I don't have my yarmulke on. My yarmulke fell. My kippah is not on my head. And I can't be killed this way. I need to make a blessing." And they say, "But where's your kippah?" And he screams, "I need my kippah." Anyhow, they're getting delayed. Their execution is being delayed. And his wife looks at him, and he's causing this whole fuss. And she says, "Chaim, why do you have to always get us into trouble?" Of course, in this case, he was delaying their execution. But the point is that as Jews, we get very much into the details and into the mitzvot, and that makes us who we are. Because God says, look, you won't change on your own. You need to take actions to change yourself. And that is the idea of Parshat Bo. It is the idea of mitzvot. It is the idea that you just cannot have a simple Exodus story. The story of the Exodus must be grounded in and anchored in actions, in small actionable ideas that you will take throughout your life, and those will change who you are. That is the idea of Parshat Bo. It is the mitzvot peppered in the story of Exodus, because we believe that it's our actions that change who we are and enable us to be truly free people. They distinguish us as Jews, and they help us better the world around us. Shabbat Shalom.